And welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope everybody is doing well. Jaisha, that was quite the cinematic intro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sitting here, I was like, I'm pretty sure that we're about to go on here, but I was like, I don't know if a trailer for one of these new movies is about to come on, but I like that. That was that was smooth right there. What was that from? Was that
I
from
have no
anything
idea.
specific?
I know Reed found it. It says epic action cinematic by infraction.
I like it. No, I like it. I was sitting there. I was like, wait. Normally, I hear like the "This is the Miller's Edge" thing, so I was waiting on that. I'm hearing like this epic. So I'm like, wait, dang, we about to watch a movie. I'm about to, kick back and relax a little bit. No, I'm kidding. No, that was smooth. But anyways, welcome into this Wednesday edition. I hope everybody is doing well. It's a nice day outside. Definitely really hot. So hopefully you guys don't have AC problems. If you do, call Ellis. Ellis is the man. He definitely will hook you up. But fortunately, man, I hadn't had some AC problems in quite some time. But it brings me back to high school, having to roll the windows down all the time because the compressors used to go out all the time in the cars, and it was too expensive to fix. But anyway, I guess if you're a college athlete, NIL will take care of any compressor issues you might have. That being said, we are presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. Make sure you guys check them out. Goodfeet.com is a website. You guys can see it on the stream. Try before you buy, nothing to lose. You can't beat it. I'm telling you, these guys have created something that are game changers. They're premium arch supports that you literally just put in your shoes, boots, whatever it is, and they get to work. They'll eliminate and alleviate all types of pain, and that is clinically proven in just 4 short weeks. When you go to the website, you can find out more information. When you walk in the store, you'll definitely get more information. They'll get you fitted. They'll show you their personalized system that will take care of all that stuff. Because again, just a quick background. Obviously, I played sports for a long time, so I clearly was dealing with plenty of pain. But thank God I found the Good Feet store, man. I'm telling you, these guys have changed my life. I don't have to worry about, I walk my dog a lot. I run a lot. I don't have to worry about that nagging ankle, hip, knee, back pain that I did before. Now I'm feeling better than ever. So make sure you guys check them out if you are dealing with any of that. Again, that is the Good Feet store. Midtown Village, where you find them here in Tuscaloosa. There's a location in Birmingham, South Alabama. You can find them all over the country. They're nationwide. Again, that is the Good Feet store, improving the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time, just like we like to improve the quality of your life, or at least try to, 2 hours at a time, because we've got you for the next hour and 52 minutes. That being said, in terms of what we've got on the ticket for today, well, we always encourage you to hop on the phone lines. We went on the phone lines damn near the whole time yesterday, at least for the second half, which was awesome. So that was a Talking Tuesday, but it doesn't matter. We're always looking to talk with you guys. 205-342-9904. Don't be afraid to hit us up on the phone lines. We love talking with you guys. Had a lot of good calls yesterday. You also can download that Tide 100.9 app. It is completely free, where you can also immediately call in. You don't have to worry about the number. You just click the phone button. And the cool thing is you can leave your app messages there. I don't think Jaisha will mind reading those live on air. Worst case, I can read them as well. Or if you're hopping on our YouTube stream, which I encourage you guys to check us out here as well on YouTube at The Miller's Edge, because you can watch me do the show. You can watch whatever we're displaying on the screen. Anytime we play these interviews, we're watching the videos. So if you prefer the visuals, check us out on YouTube at The Miller's Edge as well. In terms of what we've got on the ticket, I do want to jump back to that Josh Pate video. We discussed it a little bit yesterday. We only got into about a minute or two of his video, really, before he really broke it down, the whole point about the state of college football, before we got loaded on the phone line. So we'll probably dive back into that. Plus, Jaisha, I'm pretty sure you've seen this as well. It appears that, we broke down the John Gruden, Ryan Williams video. Now, we did that last week, excuse me, with Chase. But there was a clip that kind of, I wouldn't say went viral, but obviously people, they see these interviews, they watch content, and what do? They look for the things that they can clip, right? That'll get attention. Well, he was asked about Vanderbilt. John Gruden had asked him about the Vanderbilt game. What happened, right? A lot of people were wondering, what happened? You guys lost to Vanderbilt. Well, Ryan Williams, gave him a fair, honest take. Said they're the better team that day. They showed up. They had a good game plan. They kept the ball from us. We know how that went. Well, he also said, we're looking to kill an ant with a sledgehammer. I don't know if that's like a famous line. I'm not one of these movie people that can quote all these lines. So I don't know if that's from some, but it was pretty smooth. But anyway, that got clipped. They're writing articles, stuff like that. Looks like, Jaisha, we're finding ourselves in some beef. Now we've got beef with Vanderbilt. The craziest thing, not only did we lose them, now we've got beef with them due to, John Gruden just asking a question. He gave a response. And then their quarterback, I guess, heard or saw that clip and he gave a response. So we might take a look at that as well. But it's craziest that we're living in some crazy times that we're literally beefing
Yeah.
with Vanderbilt. Is that not crazy, Jaisha?
Yeah, I did a little investigation last night. So apparently there was beef last year. When Alabama lost, Diego's sister took to Twitter to call out Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams.
Huh?
So I found that out yesterday. So I was like, I think there's been beef
So it's
maybe.
been brewing.
Bro, yeah, it's been brewing. So this game should be exciting this year because some of his family has chimed in, and then you have the
Mm.
fans, and then now Ryan Williams, he goes on to do this interview, and people are like, okay, this should be exciting to see this year.
It's the fact that this is Vanderbilt we're talking about. Like, just when you thought it really couldn't get much worse, we're literally beefing with them in the offseason, man. It's the craziest. And listen, I'm not going to be that guy that's just going to throw out the name Vanderbilt because it's Vanderbilt. Like, I acknowledge this. I acknowledge it on my post game show that I do on the network with Gray Robertson. That Vanderbilt team last year, they were a good football team, right? Like, there's no denying that they were a talented football team. It's just the fact that historically, when you think about Vanderbilt, you just think of these highly intelligent guys, probably the worst recruiting classes in the SEC, bottom of the barrel team, athletically at least when it comes to football. But last year was different. And why? Well, they utilized the transfer portal. They brought in, Pavia. Not only did they bring him in, they brought in a coach as well. Hell, even the tight end, I think he was also a transfer. He was a good football player. And really, when you watch the tape, I mean, they out schemed us, man. They came up with a really good game plan that they executed extremely well, and Ryan was right. That team that day was better. They out executed us. They outperformed us. Crazy to think about, but they did. I mean, it's not necessarily. Well, I hate to say it. They did kind of out physical us too, which that really was probably the most disheartening part. Being out schemed, you definitely are disappointed there, but being out physical by them, that's a tough one to swallow. But that's interesting what you said, Jaisha. I didn't know the sister was chiming in on things. Now, I will say, I do remember there being some issue, maybe post game. Was it maybe that he wanted to shake hands? And maybe I'm making this up, but for some reason, I'm like, did I remember he wanted to maybe shake hands? They weren't really available to do that. Maybe that's why the family or Pavia was offended. I'll look back into that post game because I know he gave a very colorful interview. I do remember that he was very colorful, very outspoken on his excitement. I feel like the whole family was on the field. I do remember him having like literally 20 people at the game. So obviously he played his best game at the right time. But in terms of the response, let me just go ahead and share my screen so everybody on YouTube can see this. But if you're not and you're listening on the radio, I'm going to read and explain what we're looking at here. So this was posted on Diego Pavia's Instagram story. He posted a story, and I'm pretty sure he tagged Ryan Williams in this. Yeah, it looks like he even tagged Ryan. It looks like he said at Ryan Williams.
So he actually didn't make the original post. Again, I think one of his family members did, and they tagged Ryan.
Oh,
and Diego screenshotted it and put it on his story.
Thank you for that correction. See, that's what's hard when I'm just looking at the screenshot. I'm like, it looks like there's a name in the background, but see, I can't tell who added what to what. You know what I mean? So, okay, that makes sense. So you're saying that at Ryan Williams run it was already there, but then I'm assuming he added the 100 emoji in the smoke, probably. Maybe not, or he at least reposted this. But thank you for that. That's good to know. See, we don't want to spread fake news on this show. Sometimes though, with technology and AI and social media, man, it's hard to get everything perfect. Anyway, so there's lyrics to a song which looks like it's a Gucci song, Gucci Mane. If you guys, yeah, Jaisha, what's the over under on how many of our listeners know who Gucci Mane is? Probably not many.
Maybe 50%.
I was about to say we do have a younger, more diverse audience because I do feel like with me being younger and obviously of color, I think we do have a diverse group. But to be fair, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, I think that's fair. That's fair. Anyway, it's a Gucci Mane song. You got the lyrics in the background, but the highlighted lyric is they acting like they tough, but don't want it. Don't want no confrontation. That is the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. No. The craziest thing from Vanderbilt probably was more so the I don't know if you remember this, Jaisha. I'm sure you do, but they had the offensive lineman um, come out after a game, not come out like that, but come might have been that case too. But
Hopefully that kind of Alabama shows up since there's a lot brewing. Hopefully they get the same treatment that that guy received that year. Because wasn't that like a shutout game? I know it was a blowout, but I think they may have
yeah,
shut Vandy out that year.
yeah, and I wish I was able to say that I participated in that, but that was the year I tore my bicep, so I was sidelined that game. But yes, we did really put it on them in their backyard that game, and I just remember just I think that clip came from. I'm gonna play it when we come back. I think that clip came from after one of their games. I think Vanderbilt played somebody, and then they were interviewing that guy for whatever reason, and just the whole Alabama, your next thing, and the rest was history. So, anyway, you know what, Jaish? The more we're talking about this, maybe we do have some history. Maybe there's been beef brewing with Vanderbilt for a while. Maybe they felt personal. They took that personal. Then you got the family of the quarterback. I mean, this is I don't know. Still just crazy to think we're beefing with Vanderbilt, but it's 2025, man. I've seen crazier things. That being said, let's take a timeout. We come back. I'm gonna dive back into that old clip of that one guy. The first known beef for me between us and Vanderbilt, and then we'll keep on rolling. But definitely want to dive back into that Josh Pate conversation as well because that was interesting. Plus, we got Pat already lined up on the phone lines. We got to hear what Pat's got to say. 205-342-9904 if you guys want to follow Pat, go ahead, hop on the phone lines as well. Quick timeout. We're just getting started right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Art Sport Experts. We'll be right back. Justin, what's up? C, Mike, what's going on, guys? Q, what's going on? First 90-degree day up there. Dang, y'all's first, man. What is it here? I know it's really hot here, but you said first one up there. I mean, obviously you're all the way up there, so it makes sense. But let me see our weather for today. I just know it's hot. Wow, it says it's on 83. You guys got us beat up in New York, Mike? That's crazy. The high is 86 though. But I'm sure you're familiar. I mean, down here, I mean it always feels way hotter than it's going to register. Clark Lee is a good coach. Vandy was making every team play their best to beat them. Absolutely. Yeah, no, Clark Lee did a heck of a job. That's why I was saying, I mean, if you watch that, I mean, if you watch the game, I mean, they outcoached us, man. I mean, even just their game plan that game. And not only that, I mean, it's one thing, there's two parts to it. You got to have the game plan, but you also have to have the execution. And they did both. Did both well that game. Dang, all immersed. So you're diving all the way in, Q. That's good though, man. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. Sorry to take breaks every now and then, though, for sure. Because one thing I learned, sometimes when you overdo it and you're just cramming, sometimes it almost ends up like counterproductive. Then you lose some motivation because you're like, man. So gotta find like a balance, At least that's what I've learned. At least that was what works for me. All right, state of college football. Bring that back up too. All right, here we go. 30 seconds until football season. Wait, you're saying you're immersing yourself in Spanish till football season? Uh-oh, Pastor Payne's in here. Call in if you want the smoke, man. I'm kidding. And I think we are back. All right. Sorry, I didn't hear any music, but it seems like we are back. Welcome back into the Miller's Edge Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Support Experts. All right. We're about to go to you, Pat. We're about to hear what you got to say. But first, man, we just gotta circle back real quick to this whole beef with Vanderbilt that I'm literally still trying to wrap my head around. I'm trying to find this whole Alabama You're Next video. I know I can find it on YouTube. But anyway, to me, that was the first known beef between us and Vanderbilt. But see, to me, it was like that was over real quick, and that wasn't even like a real beef, right? I mean, that guy came out and said some idiotic comments about Alabama, you're next, right? Then we all know how that went. Well, this is a little bit different because right now they low key kind of have all the right. I mean, like we can't really say anything right now. You know what I mean? Like, not only did they beat us, but it's not like we went on to like, all right, we win and won the championship anyway, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, if I'll give an example, in 2017, same year with this whole beef thing that I'm about to pull up, we lost to Auburn. Now, obviously, nobody wants to lose to Auburn, but what kind of like made up for it was that we went on to win the national championship. So it was like, yeah, y'all can sit there and giggle about, y'all took the dub, in that final game right there, but we're national champions. This year is kind of like, all right, we lost to Vanderbilt, and then we kind of fell short of what we wanted to do. So anyway, this is the first beef that I was aware of. Hold on, let me turn the sound on so you guys can hear. This is the first known beef for me between us and Vanderbilt.
When you come to our house, we show you how to play some SEC ball. It don't matter where you're from. You're going to know what ball we play. Alabama, you're next.
Theoretically, we are next on their schedule.
1 week later.
And an impressive opening road victory for Alabama. 59-0.
So, yes, you were 100% correct. It wasn't just a shutout. It was 59-0, Jaisha. I just love Jay. Can we hear it? Wait, hold on. Let's just do it one more time.
You come to our house, we show you how to play some SEC ball. It don't matter where you're from. You're going to know what ball we play. Alabama, you're next.
Theoretically, we are next on their schedule.
Theoretically, we are next on their schedule, man. Jalen is hilarious, man. And like this is the emotion on his face, man. It's like unfazed, literally. I've got some other jokes that I could say, but I'm just going to save them right now, even though it'd be a great time to. Anyway, let's go to the phone lines. 205-342-9904 is the number. Pat, what's going on, Pat?
I got a beef with them. Not far outside the stadium, one of the dormitories, there was a king-size sheet with a sign on it that said, "No Saban, no chance," in capital letters. And darn if they wasn't right.
Wait. Yeah, they were technically right, man.
Yeah. No Saban, no chance. But I thoroughly believe, hey, now you're a defensive man. I thoroughly believe that, and you don't go all the way back to Brother Oliver, but I do. I thoroughly believe that Brother Oliver running that defense, and I like the new coach, but that Brother Oliver running that same group of kids beats the crap out of Vanderbilt.
You said Brother Oliver?
Yes. The defensive coordinator from '92.
Oh, okay. That explains it. Pat, that was before I was born, so I'm not gonna lie to you. That went over my head at first.
I understand.
I know that. Listen, I do know they had a good. I knew they had a really good squad that year. I do know that. I know they had a really good squad that year, but I don't know this. But tell me a little bit about them.
Not only did they have a good squad, they had a great squad. Curry and Copeland turned everything. They did not let nothing get outside of them. He wouldn't have stood a chance getting outside of that defense. And
Who are the top
they turned
guys?
everything to the inside, and the middle linebackers cleaned it up.
Tell me who the top guys were on that defense that year. Was that was Langham's? That was Langham's year? No.
Antonio Langham.
Yeah.
They had George T, who all played in the NFL.
Yeah.
They were bad to the bone. But hey, what I called about today is that this weekend, and you know everything, okay? I trust that you know everything, and you're going to have me an
I wish.
And we have a quarterback coming in out of Gatorade Player of the Year in Ohio. Now, I'm a Tamala man, okay? But this kid coming in threw for 50-something touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. He's the Gatorade Player of the Year in baseball and in football. And we have a need. We have a need for a pitcher. He has a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. 98. I don't care who you are. I called in college, and I had pitchers throwing 95. You got about 3.2 seconds from the time the ball leaves, the pitcher releases it, to the catcher's got to be making whatever adjustments he's going to make, and that's quick. It hurt me. 95 hurts you. You hear me?
Yeah.
And this kid throwing 98. That's pretty unbelievable. My question is, who gets a hit, baseball or football, for the scholarship? Because one needs him bad. The football, we don't have to have him. Baseball, we need him bad.
Great question. I guess whoever the priority sport is going to be, that's what I would guess.
How can you say number 16 baseball player in America ain't priority for baseball?
No, but I mean, like, that makes it tough because he is so highly touted in both, it sounds like. But I'm saying, like, most situations, it's like, hey, this guy's being recruited as a quarterback, but he also is a baseball prospect. He wants to play baseball.
He ain't also. He is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This one might be a little bit different. Like, for example, like,
that's why this is a good question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Pat. Maybe they look at the analytics of it. I mean, who has the room to? You get what I'm saying? Maybe with this situation, they might say, hey, football can afford to give him a scholarship. A little bit, it might be a little bit easier on football to give him a scholarship. I don't know. I can just tell you.
Baseball with the new program, baseball has lots of scholarships with a new deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly really tough, Pat. I'd have to look into that. I know you think I have all the answers, man. Unfortunately, I don't really have a clear one on that. But
okay, well, yeah, I thought you knew everything. I do. Hey, I still believe you know everything. Come on, but hey, that's a good question Pat came up with.
No, that's a really good question. I mean, my roommate Keith Holcomb. Shout out to Keith Holcomb, man. He was a dog.
Keith Holcomb was an awesome player.
Yeah, he was, man. Signed as a linebacker. Was my roommate here. But also was drafted out of high school by Arizona, I believe. But anyway, played football his first couple years and then ended up wanting to go out and play baseball. He split them for 1 year, I think. Then I think he eventually his last year only played baseball. I'd have to ask him, I wonder, for that last year with him only playing baseball, did football say, unfortunately, we're not covering you as a student athlete anymore, and it transferred? Maybe I'll shoot him a text real quick and ask him that question, because that kind of is interesting.
But this is a bigger deal than Keith. Keith was a good player, and all that. Keith ain't anywhere as touted as what this boy is. I mean,
I was just saying, since
anybody got a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
that's major league.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah, no, I just was bringing up Keith because I'm curious about him not playing football his senior year.
Yeah,
I just wondered
that's 98. Yeah, that's 98 miles an hour as a junior in high school. I don't know if he's age appropriate or not. I got no idea. But whether he is or not, 98 still fast whether you're a junior or you should be a senior.
Yeah, I mean, you imagine that's definitely going to go up. Yeah, I mean, we definitely could use him for our baseball team. I know that was one thing. I felt like our pitching staff could use him.
They some kind of short on pitchers.
Yeah, exactly.
Pitchers like that are hard to come by.
Yeah. And he has he acknowledged that he would be interested in playing both baseball and football if he came here?
He's already contacted the baseball team last week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He contacted them because wherever he goes, if he goes to college route, he is going to play both sports. Now, he must be a brilliant kid, and he comes from an all-boys school, but he would have to be super, super brilliant because I know how much how much class I missed in the spring of the year with baseball. And it's way, way, way more than football. Way more.
Is his name Matt?
Sir?
Is his name Matt Ponatoski?
Matt, that's it.
Okay.
Look him up like that. He's a number 16 baseball player in America as far as high school goes.
Dang,
and
yeah.
Maybe higher than that, huh?
Wait, hold on.
He's Gatorade Player of the Year in baseball in
Ohio. They're talking about somebody else on that article. Okay, sorry, I was reading something else. It said Alabama signee at first, but it was talking about somebody else, and I was like, wait, did he already sign with somebody?
There's another kid that just got status as a Gatorade All-American or something or other, or Gatorade Player of the Year. We already have him on campus or in this class or whatever. He's from somewhere else, but I'm talking about this kid's coming in this weekend.
So he's planning to play either shortstop or as a right-handed pitcher, along with quarterback at the collegiate level. He's narrowed his choices down to 4 finalists: Oregon, Kentucky, Alabama, and Arkansas. Huh.
Yeah.
So he's got an official visit set for this weekend, and then Eugene on the 20th.
57 touchdowns, something like that last year, with only 3 interceptions. And he plays. Now, I don't know about Ohio. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's better football, Nebraska or Ohio? We had Trey DePriest come out of Ohio, okay? We've had several other really top-notch players come out of Ohio. But, again, is he playing – I mean, it ain't Northwest Florida and it ain't Central Florida area where people eat, sleep, and drink athletics. It's not that, but it must be pretty good. He's playing in the biggest division in Ohio, but again, Kamala's playing in the biggest division in Nebraska. So, I don't know.
I'm going to read this quote. He said, if I had to put pen to paper, I couldn't tell you a good date when I want to commit. In July, I should have a good idea. I will have visited all the schools and talked to all the coaches multiple times. July is definitely the earliest. I'm not in a big rush, but I also kind of want to get it over with because I want to be a kid. I feel that. That's how I was. I wanted to get it done with. That way I could enjoy my senior year of high school and just, really embrace being a senior. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm going to look into him. I want to see more about well, really both, but I'm intrigued by seeing him play some baseball too. You make him sound like he's, like that type of dude. I mean, if you're talking about the 16th ranked guy,
he's the guy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Top 16 in America by Baseball Today or some whatever publications that does that kind of thing.
Who do you like better, Pat? Tell me that. Who do you like better, him or that Jet guy, man? You're calling me talking about him.
We have a much better chance with Tamala.
No, not better chance. Not better chance. Who do you think is better? Who would you rather have?
Out of what I watched, the film I watched, I want the boy from Omaha, Nebraska. And reason being is that, here we go, 2 years from now, when we need him, that we are going to have him, and that because by that time our quarterback could be going to the NFL. We're going to need him, and baseball is going to come with millions and millions of dollars in order to get that kid if he's as good as advertised.
And you're saying
if he comes to Alabama, what I'm saying is the future is the Nebraska player. If you're only going with those 2 quarterbacks, the future is a Nebraska player for the reason I just gave.
Yeah.
Does that not make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
when they come with those millions, because baseball way more money than football, and way less chance of getting your butt hurt too bad too. Of course, pitchers. I had a boy that I caught for that he was playing AAA ball, and he got messed up. He was throwing so hard when the scouts was there to see him that day that he messed up vertebrae in his back and never threw again.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, if I had to tell somebody to pick between one of the two, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love football. I played it, obviously. Take your butt out on that diamond. Don't even fool with don't even fool with football, man. Yeah, I was about to say, if you're that talented in baseball, man, play baseball.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pat, we appreciate you, man. Let me look into. I'm gonna do my research on it, man.
Please do, and that way we'll talk again tomorrow. You'll have an answer.
Yeah, I'll give you that tomorrow. Appreciate you, Pat.
Have a blessed one, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Good deal. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll keep on rolling. I'm going to dive back into that Pate video. Plus, I'm going to look at this guy real quick and see what he's got to offer that Pat's talking about. But, I mean, to be Gatorade Football Player of the Year and Baseball Player of the Year, I mean, talk about one hell of an athlete, man. Shout out to that kid, man. That's awesome. Also, Greg McElroy, I think him and Cole Kublik have been talking a little bit of Alabama football and some preview stuff. I know Cole Kublik responded to some reports. I forgot to mention this too. A lot of people are high on Alabama's defensive line unit going into this season. We'll talk about that. Plus, Greg McElroy offered his thoughts on this defense of Alabama for this upcoming season. So we'll talk about all that and more right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Art Sport Experts. Quick timeout. We'll be right back. All right, let's see. Midwest football is weak. I mean, I'm always going to say that football down south is the best football. But to be fair, I mean, I hadn't really experienced. I mean, obviously, you're talking about college-wise. I mean, Big Ten, you got respectable teams. But like high school football in the Midwest, I don't know too much about it, if I'm being completely honest with you. We've had some good players. I mean, we had, J.C. Hassenauer out of Minnesota in my class, Ross Pierschbacher. I ought to get them on the show, man. I think Ross is retired too, like last year. I'm not sure if J.C.'s still trying to play, but yeah, we need to get them on there. But anyway, they're good players from the Midwest. I'm trying to think of who else. He mentioned Trey DePriest. Jason, is there any way you can turn the music on so I can hear when he come back? Pat and Q06 podcast. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Man, so we've been talking about the Vanderbilt beef, right? The whole thing with, I guess, and you know what's crazy? Ryan Williams, that's just kind of how things get taken out of, I wouldn't say taken out of context. I mean, he said what he said, right? I mean, kill an ant with a sledgehammer, whatever the term was. It was a bar. I would say taken out of context, but if you watch him say and you actually listen to it, like, he's just saying from, the mentality standpoint. I mean, that they're looking to, take care of business this year. I mean, rightfully so. The whole, like, whoever this family member, I think we've come to the conclusion that it was his sister. I think Jaisha said it was his sister. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, run it, Ryan Williams. I don't know. And maybe it's like friendly back and forth. Really not even back and forth. I highly doubt Ryan even responds. It's nonsense. But I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't even respond. If I'm Alabama, I wouldn't say anything else, man. Just let the actions do the talking when you play them. Because I guarantee you, now I don't know if it's going to be, I know Todd in the chat said, hope we give Vandy that LSU 2020 treatment. I don't know how the game's going to go, but I'd imagine we're going to show up with a purpose. And rightfully so. Since we only got about 5 minutes until this next break, instead of jumping back into that Pate video, we will do that in a second. I want to take a look at some of Greg McElroy's comments that had come up, because he was talking about Alabama's defense, and I'm assuming this is kind of coming off of some of the other stuff that we heard. I know Cole Kublik responded to a report. I'm going to see if I can also pull that up. But, PFF, if you guys are familiar with that, they break down, how do you, I guess they grade tape, they grade players, stuff like that. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't put too much stock in the PFF, only because, and I've talked about this with coaches, man, there's just no way that they can accurately grade players and tape the way that they might present it to you, because they're not going to know exactly what's being called, what exact, assignments might be the case. Now, they can try to say, like, they can try to grade guys off of what they think, was a plus or minus, right? And some stuff you can say is a plus or minus without knowing the play call. But there's a lot where if you don't really know if a guy's using, for example, like you see a 5 technique edge player, naturally he's going to be a C-gap defender, but we used to have a Jimmy or a pony call, meaning we're trading responsibilities with the inside linebacker, right? So now we're going to strike that tackle. We're going to show that we're playing the C-gap, but last minute we're going to shed and be a B-gap defender, and that that inside linebacker is going to replace us and take that C-gap. They're not going to know if someone's doing a Jimmy or pony technique. They're going to watch the tape, and they might just see Will Anderson strike and then cross shed into the B-gap, but the ball gets kicked. Say that middle linebacker doesn't fulfill his responsibility of replacing. They're going to give the negative to a guy like Will Anderson, when really in that situation, it was the middle linebacker who was responsible for, scraping and being that edge defender. That's why I don't put too much stock into PFF. But to be fair, I'm sure it's better than nothing. That being said, I'll share this real quick, because here's the post that I think this was coming from. So I know you see Clemson. Well, that's because PFF allegedly has them graded as the number 1 defensive line unit for this upcoming season. But if you look right behind them, you've got Alabama at number 2, which is kind of interesting, if I'm being completely honest with you. And here's why. We have been talking about for several years now, the defensive line unit just hadn't been as dominant as it's been in years past, which I think is a fair assessment. If we're just being honest, that's a fact. But allegedly, PFF feels strongly about this unit going forward into this upcoming season. Now, I wish I knew exactly what numbers and things that they were assessing this off of. I mean, I'd imagine LT Overton is a big piece of that group. Tim Keenan coming back, talking about 2 guys on that unit that have experience, that have been really productive players. Not the most productive if you look at some of these other guys that are, maybe in the double digits areas, but in terms of just, assignment football and making plays, I mean, those guys are very solid in that department. Would I label them as elite just yet? No, I wouldn't say elite. And I think Cole Kublik's comments pretty much echoed that. I think he said he's not ready to put that like elite label on this unit. But he definitely thinks they're a good unit. And that's what I've been saying about them. And I think they could be even better this year. If you have a guy like James Smith step up, who, has immense potential, we've been expecting him to, to grow into that player that we know or expect and hope that he can be. I mean, that automatically, boosts this unit. I mean, and not to mention some of these younger guys that we might not have been talking about too much just yet, but we know that they're good players. So, We'll have to see how that looks. But anyway, Greg McElroy was speaking on this defense for this upcoming season, which, again, this unit ranked 21st in total defense in 2024. But he feels like they could take a significant jump in 2025. And I'll pull up this clip in a second. That way we can listen to it. But since we're about to hit this break, but this could be one of the best groups in the country by the season's end, assuming the younger players can develop as they developed last season, which I think is really going to be the key. I mean, I mentioned some of the key contributors that we know of, right? But I think if you look at some of these young players that this coaching staff is excited about, I think that they would help really give that boost to this unit that they need. And I think really just the consistency, they need to get back to playing a little bit more physical football and also finishing. I think that'd be important. Could really make the numbers pop, which, again, it's not all about numbers, but we know when you're talking about grading things and stuff like that, people are going to look at that. I think that would have a huge effect. But if that is the case, we've already talked about how strong this secondary looks to be. Linebacker play, I mean, you know what you got out of the 2. Deontay Lawson and Justin Jefferson, adding the guy from the portal Hill Green. I mean, obviously expect things out of him. So you feel solid about that. Defensive line play, even though there's a lot of guys returning, I still feel like they need to be better. And a lot of people are optimistic about that. If they are better, you pair them up with the secondary like we all know that we can have, this defense should definitely take a huge jump. And I see where Greg is coming from. I'm not personally ready to put too much on this just yet. And that's no disrespect. It's just me just being completely honest with you, because thing is, I'm an edge guy. My standard for defensive line play and defensive play is going to be a little high, and rightfully so. I mean, I played with some of the best guys to ever come through this program, especially on the defensive line. So I'm going to be a little bit more of a tougher critic. But I do feel like there is some optimism with this group, and that's an exciting thing when you talk about a defensive line unit that's been, I wouldn't say deflated the last couple of years, because they've done some good stuff. We've had good players, some solid, performances, but just not at the same level as we got used to seeing in the past few years. So can they make a return to that? I don't know if I would say that, but I definitely think they can be a much better unit this upcoming season. We got to hit another timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Sport Experts. Quick timeout. We'll be right back. All right, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. Jace, is there any way? I don't know how long this break is. Is there any way you could throw in an ad or two if it's a little short? I'm just gonna run to the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. I still want us to come back, and I'm not here. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Arch Support Experts. All right, so we've been talking a little bit about the defensive line unit just a second ago. I think we got most of that from that article. I didn't want to read it word for word, but basically, again, to summarize, Greg McElroy does feel that this defensive line unit could be one of the best in the country by the year's end. So we'll see. Again, if that happens, I'll be honest, man. I mean, I feel like you talk about one of the best defenses in the country. I mean, defensive backs, I mean, you're already checking that box. Linebacker play, I mean, I feel pretty solid about. I mean, again, Deontay Lawson, you know what you're getting out of him. I mean, can he improve on some things here and there in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily call it like assignment, but like, have I seen him at times kind of, put himself out of position? I have. But to me, that's something you clean up by. Obviously, you had a new system last year. Things might have been a little bit different. That I'm not too concerned about that. I feel like that gets cleaned up. What I would probably be more concerned about, at least early on, is just how he responds, coming off of that knee injury, at least early on, I should say. I think, nowadays with all the technology and stuff that you have, I'm not too concerned about it in the long run, but I think he should be back by training camp. But still, I mean, it's the process of, trusting your body again. I mean, it takes time, but I think that'll be something to look out for. But you talk about the rotation of those three guys, adding Hill Green in there, a very experienced player, should be solid. But again, defensive line, I mean, we all know everything starts up front with the trenches. And Tim Smith, I mean, you talk about a guy that was one of their key pieces up front. You lose him, you still got Tim Keenan, LT Overton. You got it, you got guys that, like, the James Smith. It's just they haven't necessarily shown that just yet. So that's the piece that I'm kind of leaning like, we'll have to see. But I fully expect those guys to take that next step. The biggest area really on this defense, I would say that leaves me with a question mark, still probably the outside linebacker unit, if I'm being completely honest with you. We'll see how that unit ends up looking like. But, I mean, Quay Russaw, very solid piece. I mean, they moved Jamarian Latham to the outside linebacker room. So, I mean, again, another, guy that's played a lot of football, mature player that knows the game. But I just don't see just that juice just yet. Now, Quay obviously does. I mean, we've seen him. He's come up with some interceptions. He's been explosive. I think he'll be solid, but you can't just rely on one guy. Like, I would love to have, like, if you just think about our edge groups the last few years, right? I mean, let's go back to Will Anderson, Chris Allen, Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, right? I mean, even Q Robinson. You just always had like a pair of guys, some juice, right? Like some guys that you could send in there and go. We're relying on some of these younger guys. And I do think I will say that Cavante Henry guy, excuse me. He's got the tools, man. He's got the tools. You talk about being explosive, his first step. The dude flies off the football. I'm talking about the guy, he was a JUCO guy. He might be able to be that guy that I'm referring to, go and get it, can bend off the edge, explosive, kind of adds that type of dynamic off the edge. Would love to see him really come along. We'll have to see, but or even like a Noah Carter guy. Maybe he's that type of player. But a lot of these other guys are more like speed and power guys. I just wish we had more, I don't know, more bend off the edge. That being said, let's go ahead and dive back into this Pate video. We got it pulled up right here because we only got through maybe a minute or two. So I wanted to circle back to that and really get the full piece on it. So let's go back to where we were. Now, I don't remember exactly where we got to, but we'll just we'll guess. We'll guess from here. Let me go ahead and share this with you guys. Here it is. All right. So we're circling back to what we were talking about yesterday as we close out hour number 1. Josh Pate discussing the state of college football. So just a quick reminder. His argument was as long as Saturdays remain the same, which he feels like they've been the same, he's not too worried about some of the changes that, the lack of attention to recruiting, the lack of excitement in the offseason. As long as Saturdays and game days remain unchanged, he feels like college football is not ruined. That's what we talked about yesterday. So here we go. Let's get back to it.
People disagreed with this, and I think we got to acknowledge there may be some merit to it. But first, here's what was said to prompt all of this. There's Ohio State. Let's say Michigan's in town. And let's say it's midway through the third quarter, and they're deadlocked at 17, and it's 4th and 1 on your own 38-yard line, and they're opting to go for it. The clock's ticking down, huddle breaks, 5, 4, 3, crowds at full throat. Just pause right there. Is anybody thinking about whether Ohio State had OTA workouts? Is anybody thinking about how much the left tackle's making? You're not. So the point is, the game hasn't really been ruined at all. If that moment feels different, if that moment is ruined, then college football has ruined itself. But I think college football is extremely resilient. Like, it is extremely strong. It's the redwood. You could chop a redwood down, but you don't do it with 5 or 10 swings. You don't do it with 5,000 or 10,000 swings. It'd take a lot to chop down a redwood, all concentrated, all at one spot on that tree. And don't do it because you'll get arrested. But point being, it takes a lot to ruin college football. That's a byproduct of how great it is. So, pretty simple stance. There can be a lot wrong. There can be a lot you have a problem with, but the sport's still great. And it is still what you love. So that's where I stand. Apparently, many of you don't. Now, I will acknowledge it is May. So anyone who's talking hardcore about college football right now is a hardcore fan. Hardcore fans tend to love the sport the most, take ownership of the sport the most, and therefore most readily point out the flaws. And I think it's a lot like a city council meeting. If you've ever attended a city council meeting or you ever watched one on like public access TV, it doesn't matter if 95% of the citizens of a town are happy. The 5% that are unhappy, those are the folks who are going to be at the city council meeting, which is okay. They deserve the platform to speak their mind. However, if your only impression of that town is a city council meeting, you'd think the town's terrible.
What you want to do is save.
That's a very interesting point you made. I get the reference. So, I mean, if you're only looking at the negative aspects of it and you're coming in at that point, everything is going to seem terrible. Interesting point he made there, but can't say I disagree with it. All right, here we go. Sorry, we had a quick ad break. Now we're back.
If your only impression of college football is the people who are critical of it in May, you're not really getting an accurate representation of how the public at large feels. But that doesn't discredit what I'm about to show you. So I played that video on Twitter earlier today, some other platforms as well. I'm going to show you some of the responses we got. And what I'm showing you because let me cut in really quick and feel the same. College football year-round, the way God intended it. All right, back to the clip. One response equals like 1,000 responses that were similar. So the first kind of response I got to me asking, do Saturdays feel the same, was like Brad. He said, Ohio State just finished 4th in their conference, lost to their biggest rival, but still won the national title. Ruined feels like the right word. It's not even close to the sport we enjoyed 15 years ago. What Brad is saying there is the regular season games have, relatively speaking, less meaning. He's not wrong about that, but that doesn't mean it's ruined. Because, see, I was at several Ohio State games last year. I was at the Oregon game where they lost. It still felt like it had maximum leverage and consequence on it. The Ohio State-Michigan game. If you're telling me that thing was meaningless, I would encourage you to listen to Ohio State fans after that game because they knew they were going to the playoff. It didn't change that half of them were ready to run Ryan Day out of town. Like, you can tell me the games have less meaning. Don't tell me they have no meaning and that they're ruined. And Brad, by the way, you're talking to someone whose chief pushback against expanding the playoff was that we were going to devalue regular season games. So you and I agree. We're not disagreeing, but the difference is I'm in these buildings. I'm on the field for these games. I feel it. I know what I'm experiencing. I know what I used to experience. And while it's true the volume may have gone from 10 to 8.5, it's still an 8.5. And for those big games, it's still a 10. I don't know what else to say about that, but I do know a lot of people told me that. A lot of people responded like that. Here's another kind of response we got.
Well, we got to hit this top of the hour break, but we're going to continue with this because I do want to continue listening to some of these responses because they make a lot of sense. Now I'm with them though. Things do, like when you're in the building, right? When you're around the guys, it's easy to say, "Oh, these guys don't care anymore." But when I'm up there, I mean, those guys are still practicing hard. Those guys are still, chasing championships and wanting to go out there and play good. Obviously, does it feel slightly different because obviously there are some different dynamics? Yeah, like he said, I mean, it might have been, modified slightly, but there still is that feel. It's not completely gone. I do agree with him there, but I want to get y'all's responses again. We're piggybacking off what we talked about yesterday. The state of college football. Is it completely ruined? Is it slightly ruined? Is everything still the same? What say you? Want to get y'all's thoughts? 205-342-9904 is the number. Plus, you guys can always drop it in the app message if you guys like, or right here in the chat, and we'll discuss it as well. Quick timeout. We come back. Hour number 2 coming right up right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. We'll be right back. Q, what are you talking about over there, man? I let him talk and translate what he just said. You trying to translate the Spanish? You know, it's funny. That's something I try to do to practice. If I'm listening to something in English, I try to see if I can translate in my head how I would say things or what's being said in Spanish. And if there's something I don't know, I look it up. That way I learn it. Oh yeah, Q. Yeah, Mike. To answer your question, I don't know if Q's still in here right now, but yeah, he said he's got tickets to. I think it's a Vanderbilt game because Mike, you said you have tickets to was it Wisconsin? I believe. I think he's going to Vanderbilt. At least that's what he said on the phone lines yesterday or the day before. I think our secondary can give the D line a little more time to get pressure. Yeah, 100%. I mean, secondary defensive line, man, you work hand in hand. Those guys should be your best friends. I mean, there's going to be coverage sacks when those guys in the back end are covering well, and there's going to be interceptions made because guys are getting after the quarterback and they're affecting the quarterback, affecting his throws and things of that nature. So, yeah, man, when you have a strong secondary unit, you definitely you benefit as a pass rush unit and vice versa. I mean, I used to always, even like on third downs, man, we used to always, give a nod. Like, I remember like a guy Eddie Jackson would just give us a look or just like, get after it, right? Like, or like they would communicate. We'd be coming out of a timeout and it'd be like, we get like basically them saying that like, we got y'all boys. We're gonna give y'all time. Just get back there. Anytime you got that type of relationship between your D line and your secondary is solid. All right, here we go. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge. Hour number 2 officially underway. Hope you guys are doing well. We were breaking down that Josh Pate video. Sorry, I was trying to catch back up on everything. Justin, you out of here, man? No worries, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow. It's always I forget this is like lunchtime for a lot of you guys. So the fact that you guys take the time to use that break, use that time to listen to the show, man. I really appreciate that. Appreciate all y'all support. So that being said, we were listening to Josh Pate, and he was breaking down some of the responses he got about his stance on the state of college football, which again, if you guys are just tuning in or you hadn't heard yet, he basically was saying game day, Saturdays, they feel the same. He doesn't feel like it's ruined. Has it changed some? Yes. Enough to consider it ruined. The sport is just done with? No. But he's got some pushback from some of his listeners, and that's what he's responding to right now. So let's go ahead and dive back in the video.
Gamecock Lifer hit me and said, no, these games don't feel the same. Saturday doesn't feel the same anymore. Part of the fun of college football was getting to know players over 3 to 4 years and watching them develop. That's mostly gone now. Your team and your rivals' teams are filled with a bunch of mercenaries, and my school is better at retention than most.
I'm going to pause that right there because a couple things I'm taking away from that. But number one, I think the biggest thing I'm kind of like, I don't know. They said Saturdays don't feel the same anymore. I don't know if I would say that. I don't know if I would say that they feel different, to be honest with you. Jaisha, do you feel like Saturdays feel different or no?
No, because I still think you have the thrill and the excitement. Honestly, I will say, I think the transfer portal has brought a different level of excitement. I'll even use Vandy, for example. Nobody expected Alabama to lose that game. Nobody expected that Vandy team to be that good. And then nobody expected Ohio State to win the national championship this year. So I feel like it's a different level of competition because now you don't know what's going to happen. You just have to wait and see.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, just like you said, I mean, on one end, yeah, people get upset when a guy leaves or when players leave via the portal, but you can't deny that you don't get excited when you see, like when they signed Isaiah Horton. You're telling me that this Gamecock lifer, maybe my dad knows him, man, or maybe they're familiar with my dad. He's a big Gamecock guy, but you're telling me you don't get excited when you bring somebody in when Isaiah Horton signed. I remember everybody excited about Parade. Oh, we're getting a 6'3" receiver. This, like, people get excited about that. It's like, again, I don't want to compare to NFL and make it seem like it's just like that. But in the NFL, if you have a favorite NFL team, you get excited when you draft somebody, which I guess it's more like recruiting. But you get excited when you go sign somebody via free agency. When you get a big, receiver or big time player signs to your team, you get excited. So I think that is something to think about. But the other thing they mentioned in here was getting to know players over 3 to 4 years and watch them develop. I will say I agree with that part. Having to I guess worrying about if a guy's going to be around the next few years and really getting to see him develop, that does feel like it's taking a pretty decent hit. I agree with them there, and that is unfortunate. But the point that they made about your team and others are just filled with a bunch of mercenaries. I just, to me, I don't really agree with that. I mean, let's look at Alabama's roster. Now, I'm going to explain why I feel like it's a little bit skewed. Not skewed because it is a fact. I mean, we do have a number of transfers, but I'll explain what I'm getting at in a second. Isaiah Horton, transfer. Jeremy Bernard, transfer. Let me finish reading this, then I'll get to my point. Ryan Williams, signed. Caden Proctor, signed. Cam Dewberry, transfer. Brailsford, transfer. Robert, signed. Formby, signed. Cuevas, transfer. Danny Lewis, signed. Ty Simpson, signed. Jan Miller, signed. So that's the offense. Obviously, there's more players, but we're just starting with the alleged one deep right now, according to ourlads.com, whatever. Anyway, LT Overton, transfer. Tim Keenan, signed. James Smith, signed. Quay Russaw, signed. Justin Jefferson, JUCO. I guess that counts as a transfer, maybe. I don't kind of in the middle, maybe. Deontay Lawson, signed. Amani Jackson, transfer. Bray Hubbard, signed. Keon Sabb, transfer. Xavier Brown, signed. Sean Jones, transfer. I didn't count, but I would probably say that almost is kind of split down the middle. Let's just look at offense real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of 11. So just under 50%. Let me just make sure that they're doing 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, is it 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, they got so 5 out of 12. And then same thing here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we'll count him. 5. I think it was the same. Yeah. So 5 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, they had 11 on defense, but 12 on offense. Sorry. That's why I wanted to count. I know you're like, dude, there's only 11 people on the field. Well, when you do depth charts, technically on offense, sometimes I'll count 12. Or on defense because you got different packages and stuff like that. Anyway, so 5 out of 12 on offense and 5 out of 11 on defense. Their point sounds kind of true when you think about it in terms of like, oh, it's a bunch of different guys. They use the word mercenaries. We're just going to say transfers. But again, to be fair, what I was getting at earlier was we also had the reason I said it was skewed, or I feel like it's kind of skewed, is because we had Kalen DeBoer get hired post Nick Saban. He brought with him Jeremy Bernard and he brought with him Parker Brailsford. So, yes, those are transfers, but I mean, one could argue it's not like there's a little asterisk mark there because they came with the new head coach, right? And 3, excuse me, Josh Cuevas, same thing. That's 3 guys that followed Kalen DeBoer. That feels a little bit, I know they're transfers, but it feels a little bit different. Defensively, I don't think that was the case because Deshaun Jones, Wake Forest, Keon Sabb, Michigan, Damani Jackson, Southern Cal, and I mean Jefferson, JUCO, but LT over Texas A&M. That being said, though, I mean, I would argue that yes, they transferred in here, but they don't feel like mercenaries. You know what I mean? Like just guys, they're just signing to play here. Like if anything, like, for example, I feel like Jeremy Bernard, people embrace him where, yeah, he signed, paid to play guy. It felt like he was a player at Washington that he was a rotational guy. He was a returner. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he was like wide receiver 1 there when he transferred here, and we're seeing him grow up as a football player for us. You know what I mean? I mean, Brailsford was a young player. We knew he was, a really good young player, but he was young. He's kind of been embraced here. It doesn't just feel like it's some guy we just paid to play. I mean, Isaiah Horton, like, he's a little bit older. We just signed him. That could feel like, hey, you're just signing somebody to play. But those two guys are just, even Cuevas, I don't even think he really played at Washington like that. Same kind of deal. You look at LT Overton. I mean, he didn't really, like, he was highly recruited out of high school, but at Texas A&M, like, he was just scratching the surface. He played a little bit as a freshman, but he was, more of a rotational guy. What I'm getting at is a lot of the transfers that you'll see, really, they're guys looking for better opportunities, and they end up kind of growing into who they end up being at that new school. And for me, that's why I don't feel like they're just mercenaries, unless it's a guy like, I'm trying to think again, like Horton, maybe. Trying to think of who else, man. Who maybe Keon Sabb. Those guys maybe feel a little bit more like, they were already a little more established when they got here. But I don't know. That's just my thought on that. Carson in the chat on YouTube says, I think there's a difference between the average portal haul and what FSU did the year before last. It's always going to vary. Like that's an example. Even though some of those guys that they signed, like, because they signed a number of our guys who weren't real players there. Technically, that would follow what I was just saying, but like, I just feel like the code is just different. I don't know how to explain it, man. Like, they didn't have that same, like, I don't know. Maybe we just do a better job of when these guys come here, like, they transition to like being our guys versus feeling like, oh, it's just a guy that went and signed with the team and now he's wearing that uniform playing for them, if that makes sense. I don't know. Just my thought. Let's continue with the video, though.
Having insurance.
Well, after this quick ad. I don't know. Maybe I'm being biased, but it really does just feel like the way we bring guys in and they grow up under us makes it feel a little bit different than just pay for play. Here we go.
You're not wrong about this. And if this is not corrected, this is going to go from a somewhat of a problem to a major problem, because this has only just begun to happen. And what we're talking about here, I think, is pretty obvious. If you've grown up loving college football, up until about 10 minutes ago, you knew if a guy committed to you out of high school, chances are, unless he gets hurt, 95% likelihood he's going to be there 2 years from now. Most of them are going to be there 3 or 4 years from now. So you got to know them. You followed their recruitment. You watched them commit. You read the early practice reports about how their redshirt season was going, and then they got on the field for special teams as a sophomore, and then as a junior, they go from spot duty to starting by midseason, and then they shine as a senior. And what you're saying here is right. Those stories still do happen, but they're much fewer and further between. And what that does over time is it loosens the attachment between you and the team, because your attachment to that team was somewhat tied into attachment to the loyalty that you were seeing between the player and the team. You were both attached in different ways to that team. But now what you're saying is you're watching this kind of mercenary free agent culture, not once every 3 years, but once every, basically spring. And even beyond that, where guys just kind of move around, go to the highest bidder. Now that's not quite as frequently happening as many indicate, but it's happening. And it's a problem. Now, here's the follow-up. I think we're on the precipice of figuring out how to fix that. And I think the revenue sharing model is going to greatly reduce the amount of roster churn, because I think the incentive structure to stay on one roster for several years is going to be such that guys are far less likely to move around. You'll never do away with transferring, but you don't have to pass rules or laws or even try to. You just have to fix your incentive structure. And at that point, I think a lot of that can be solved. So that's one area where I don't think you're past some point of no return. I do think if that doesn't get fixed, it is a major, major problem. And here's the follow-up on that. And this is another big problem. Because of what he's talking about, it has ruined recruiting for many people. And it is a huge problem about overall fan interest. And this is not covered a lot, but it should be. Following recruiting used to be to college football what following the NFL draft was to the National Football League. You had to know one to know the other. You had to follow recruiting if you were really going to have any depth of understanding about the sport. But you don't have to anymore. And in fact, people are actively turned off by it because they think to themselves, why should I invest my time and energy in knowing South Carolina signing class when recent history is showing me 70% of them aren't going to be there in 2 years. And at any given point, any of them can leave at any time. Like, why would I invest my time and energy? I can't fault you because I feel the same way. I don't pay any attention to recruiting like I used to. We don't talk about it on the show. We talk about it a couple of times a year. And the reason is because of that. Because I don't think the commitment, even once pen hits paper, is worth what it used to be worth. No one could push back on that. No one argues that. And here's the problem with that is kind of like taking away a spring game. It doesn't destroy the sport. I'm still watching on Saturday. But man, you just removed one of the layers that used to exist in the conduit between me and the sport. Okay, then you get rid of the desire to follow recruiting. Sport's not destroyed, but you removed yet another critical connective layer between fan and sport. And you can't continue to do that. You can't.
I have to say I agree with them on that. That was a very good way of really summarizing that point too about, yeah, the sport's still the same and technically recruiting's still there, but removing that layer. And that was one of the things that really made, even just thinking about the video game, like you doing the whole thing about picking where you want to go on there. Recruiting has always been like the staple of college athletics, right? Now it's like he said, nobody really pays attention because it's like, why invest so much, into it emotionally, whatever, mentally, hell, even maybe physically in terms of maybe like NIL type deal. But when you don't even know if these guys will even be there. He said 70%. He was probably throwing out a number, but I would be curious. I don't know if there is an accurate number, but the average retention rate of each recruiting class, I'm actually really curious on what that stands or where that stands at nowadays. I don't know. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We got the pastor of Pain on the phone lines. We'll get his thoughts on all this, catch back up with him. Plus, we'll keep on rolling on this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Time 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Art Sport Experts. Quick timeout. Don't go anywhere because we got the pastor of Pain coming up next. Culture. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for, Carson. Exactly. Culture. Yeah, I think our culture just feels different than other places. And maybe I'm being biased. I don't know. But actually, no, I'm not. I've seen other places. And not even just that. I've heard from other guys that have been here and gone to other places. And they all, if there's one thing that is always the same, it's those guys always say that. Now, yeah, you'll have a couple guys that might have been bitter about something here, maybe didn't work out the way they imagined, the way they envisioned it, and they'll try to act like, oh, the grass is greener, which maybe it is for them. But the majority of the time, if someone's being real with themselves, when they leave here, they say that the culture is just different, even at bigger schools. And I've heard that from people. But in terms of the recruiting aspect, he is right, though. That just, with that being gone, that does make stuff feel a lot different. But it's still there. It's just different, man. Like being up there for this this past weekend, the official visits they had. I was shocked because it did feel, like recruiting, right? Again, they're still recruiting. It's still going on, but and obviously I wasn't in meetings. I don't know what else is discussed that probably, would make me go, okay, that's not what I was, wanting to really, hear from recruiting. But in terms of what they're putting on for, all the families and the recruit stuff, I mean, I was like, oh, okay, all right. It's not as changed as I thought. It's different for sure, but it's not as changed, for the negative, like one might have thought. No bias. We've always had guys come in and become our guys, even before this portal era. Jermaine Burton, yeah. JMO too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, those are good examples. That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't none of those guys really felt like pay for play, and then they're already this, they're coming. I feel like most of the guys that have transferred to Alabama, like they've been good players. Maybe they hadn't even really had a chance, but I feel like they really end up leaving their mark, and they just feel like an Alabama guy by the time they leave. Maybe there's somebody I'm missing that could have been a little bit different, but versus like other guys were like, for example, all right, we're about to come back here. Like what was his name? Like Walter Nolan. I think he transferred from A&M to Ole Miss. I feel like he just felt like Walter Nolan from A&M, but he signed to go play at Ole Miss. Does that make sense, guys? All right, here we go. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch sport experts. Hope everybody is doing well. We've been talking about the state of college football, breaking down and reacting to this Josh Pate clip. But now we're joined by the pastor of Payne, the other piece of this show. Welcome in.
Greetings and salutations. Hope everybody's well.
Everybody's good, man. I'm sure you probably recognize Chase is out of town, man. He's attending some stuff with his family, but we got Jaisha behind the glass. I don't know if you've ever met Jaisha, but she's awesome. She's filling in and she's doing a good job. She works with Ryan a lot and she's helped us with the pregame show. But anyway, so hope you got to meet her when you called in, but she's behind the glass doing a really nice job.
Oh, hello, Jaisha. What a cool name. I probably would have a hard time in a spelling bee trying to spell it, but I like the name. I think
Thank you.
Cool.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Anyway, all right. So what's been up, man? I don't know how I saw you in the chat earlier. I don't know how much you caught of the show, what we've been talking about. But last 2 days we've been talking about the state of college football. I know last time you were on here, we were talking about some of the things that could be, I guess, being changed in terms of the playoffs. But this time around, we're talking about just the state of it in general, from recruiting to the portal to you name it, NIL. And let me ask you this question, because this is what Josh Pate's been discussing. Do you feel like college football has been ruined? Like, do you feel like enough damage has been done to the point that you can sit here and say that it's been ruined? And number two, my follow-up is, have you felt there's been a shift in how Saturdays feel, right? Because what Josh Pate was saying was, in his opinion, as long as Saturdays remain unaffected, those still feel like big games, the excitement's still there, the passion's still there on Saturdays, he doesn't think, the rest of this stuff matters quite so much. It matters, but not so much. What say you?
Well, yeah, I was listening to what he was saying, and I'm somewhat in agreement with him because, first of all, for one, the game has changed. Number two, it isn't ruined, right? I think what's happened is when you look at relationship between said players and the fan, the ability to get to know a kid from, sophomore, junior year in high school, going through the recruiting process, signing, getting to your campus and watching him develop and play and grow up into a young man from a man and being part of your program, that part has been, you want to use the word ruin, that's fine, but I would say that's a strong word. That definitely is different because guys now have the ability to, transfer if they're not happy, if things aren't going well, or if they, get a better opportunity elsewhere at another school. Caleb Downs, will be an example of that, and going to an Ohio State from Alabama, winning a natty, that type of thing. You see this stuff happening. So I would say, from a fan perspective, that could be looked upon as ruined from a player-fan relationship. But as far as Saturdays, no. If you go to, especially in the SEC, college campuses, going to the games, the tailgating, game day, all this stuff is still happening. People are excited. People are having a lot of great fun. People are still supporting the game. That hasn't changed at all. And that's not going to change because college football, I believe, is the greatest sport there is out there. What's happening on Saturdays, those 12 Saturdays in the regular season. So, I don't like it, Christian, but I think, I was thinking about this as you were talking. I liken this to what I call what we had when I first got drafted into the National Football League is what we call Plan B, right? There was no free agency, but they had what they call Plan B, where a team could protect X amount of players that other teams couldn't touch. But if you weren't on that protected list, then basically you were a free agent. Any team could come sign you or you could go elsewhere. And, fans didn't like that because, they just get a couple years of a guy, then all of a sudden he's gone. And then free agency came in 1993, which I witnessed. I was the first group a part of that, where I could make a choice and say, you know what, my contract's up. I remember being down in New Orleans and having a visit. And I was about ready to sign and getting a call from George Young, then the GM of the Giants, who upped the offer, blah, 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 blah. And I ended up staying in New York instead of going to New Orleans. That hurts, again, the relationship, because now, like the NFL, if you don't really follow, if you don't really keep up with it, the transactions, if you will, then heck, you don't know where some players are. I mean, you look around and be like, oh, so-and-so is in Denver now? Well, I thought he was in Tampa. You know what I mean? You're not going to know because guys move around. So, yes, it's definitely changed. It's definitely different per the transfer portal. I agree. It's definitely hurt. If anything, it's the high school recruiting is taking a beating. Guys are not getting the opportunities at Power 5 schools like they used to, unless you're a top echelon player. Coaches are now saying, hey, I'm going to go to the portal and find my guy to fill that position at tight end or defensive end or linebacker, instead of, recruiting a guy, developing a guy, getting him bigger, faster, stronger, bring him into the program, and he becomes the next person, like a Christian Miller did back in the day. You're not going to see that anymore. You're going to see guys say, you know what, we don't have the time. Coach is like, well, if I don't win, I'm fired. So I got to go find players that are ready to go. I can plug and play. I can go out and get some things done. But college football isn't ruined. Is it different with the transfer portal? Absolutely, yes. It's different. This is new. This is, guys are going to move around. But I don't think they're moving around at a clip that's taken away from the game. I think you might have a couple of players that are names that get into the portal that you lose them or you gain one. But as a whole, from a large percentage, you're not seeing a ton of guys that I would use the word important to your roster just popping up and leaving. You just don't see that at a great club.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's all going to be subjective to, really your team and how you're benefiting or being affected by it, right? I think if you're a team that has done well in the portal and it's helped you out and you've had success, a la Ohio State, I don't think they're going to have too great of an issue with it, so to speak, because they've benefited from it. They've also lost guys. Just like, your Gamecocks, the person that made some of these points in that last part in that clip that we listened to, their name was Gamecock Lifer. Obviously, they're one of your people, a Gamecock fan. So you guys have been affected by the portal. You guys have lost a lot of guys in the portal, but you've also been one of the most active teams in the portal. So I can understand why they might feel that way. Do you feel like when you look at that Gamecock roster, I know you don't have it in front of you, but I looked at Alabama's, and I'm sure you probably heard it, but 5 out of the 12 guys listed as starters, penciled starters on that website for Alabama were transfers, and 5 out of the 11 listed on defense were also transfers. When you look at that South Carolina roster, do you feel like you're looking at a team full of mercenaries, guys all just paid to come there, or do you feel like that's a little far-fetched?
Well, I'd probably say 50-60% are mercenaries, if you want to use that term. But it's going to be different. the transfer portal helped South Carolina. South
Right.
Carolina couldn't recruit at a clip like Alabama, and it was just next guy up, right? When Alabama get a guy hurt or guy graduates, go in the draft, you had a stud, a 5-star ready to go in his place, and you knew that player was going to be a great player. And that's where it was for years with Nick Saban at Alabama. At South Carolina, they didn't have that luxury, right? So when they look at the portal, when Shane Beamer looks at it, they got to go plug and play because they're not getting, 8, 9, 5-stars and 21, 4-stars recruited and building up and stockpiling. So they have to go out. They're going to compete. The reason why they're winning 9 games now and teams people are saying, the pundits, if you will, that this team can compete, is because of the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at this roster, yes, it's hard for me to keep up as a lifer, as an alumni, as one who lives here, that's around this team, knows this team. Heck, I don't know half the guys, maybe more now. It used to be I would know all the guys that come in here at 18. I'll see them leave at 22, 23, right? As grown men. And I would know them, and I have a chance to meet families and parents, and because I go to games or I'm in the locker room or I'm down at the facility, things like you do. So you have a chance to know guys and even be a relationship with guys. So I think that's what's really hurt sometimes, because there's guys that are here 2 years and they're gone. Or there's guys that are here 4 years and then they leave, or guys that come in for 1 year as a graduate transfer, just to be a plug and play guy. And he's gone. You don't have any relationship. And really, it's not even a year. It's less than a year that individual is on campus, and then he's up out of here. He's out of 5,000. So but South Carolina have to do this, because this is the only way they can compete. And it's teams like South Carolina or Vanderbilt. I heard is it Jaisha? I think she mentioned, the exciting thing, seeing the Vanderbilt beating Alabama. Well, that happened because they were able to go get a quarterback, and they will get some other guys, some skilled guys that can compete. That's the only reason. The old Vanderbilt wouldn't have beaten Alabama. I don't think they had a shot, no chance. But that new team now has some players that can play, right? That chose to go there, and now they became competitive. I mean, they were a bowl team. So to me, it's good in a way that it helps the mid-level teams. It helps the mid-level team now compete with the Alabama, with the Ohio State, with the Georgia, teams like that. And I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. Now, based on the comment from Gamecock Lifer, he's right in a sense that they don't have a chance to grow and build a relationship with said players anymore, because they don't know how long they're going to be here, what's the length of the stay going to be, or who is this new guy we got coming in. If he comes in, he don't really get down with the fans like that. He's not out in public in the community doing things and building relationships. He's here lifting, running, doing his thing because he wants to go on the field and play SEC football with a chance to get noticed by the National Football League, and he's out. And so that's, I think, where the complaint comes in, is from the fan, because they like the fact that they can, like I was talking about, have a chance to grow with said players and get to know them over the course of, 4 or 5 years, and build relationships, whereas, they don't have that anymore. Heck, I was just, at Starbucks, my daily stop in the mornings anyway. The guy said, "Hey, man, I got your poster, man, in my room." And, I'm talking about 1989. And he was like, "Man, I got it. It's still there, man." And the other day I run into the guy again. He's like, "I've been a lifer fan, man, and you're my guy." And he brought in and showed me, the poster, like when they had the schedule on it, and a couple of players on the poster. He felt like that kind of had put him in a place to have a relationship with me, because he known me from those years. I mean, from a little boy, now he's a grown man in the corporate world, but still he feels like, man, that's a kind of a relationship, because Corey was a Gamecock and he was there, 4 or 5 years, and now he lives here, and there's fans that like that type of stuff. Whereas now there's going to be so many players. I mean, think about this, Christian. Where's Isaiah Bond going for a reunion? Is he going to go back to Alabama, where he's going to talk about, man, catching that famous catch at Auburn, their biggest rival, and winning that game? Or he's going to go to Texas, or, Caleb Downs, or he's going to go back to Ohio State, where he's a national champion, or he's going to be a guy that was a freshman All-American at Alabama. You know, who does he commit? Where does he lie down at? So players don't. I mean, they're moving around so much. So I'm 3-4 team. Like they don't have where they going. Who's really their team?
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
You know, so
what's his name?
That's the craziness of the whole thing.
No, it is. I mean, it's a solid point. Unfortunately, Isaiah Bond, I mean, he's in some legal stuff. I mean, he might not even get to see his NFL dream really come to fruition. And again, that's entirely on him for those actions and decisions that he made, allegedly, I should say, I guess. Let me just say that, allegedly. But yeah, you talk about a very unfortunate situation where he could have capitalized on that one play for the rest of his life. Anytime they had A-days, which hopefully we have A-days in the future, or any type of football event, they probably would have invited him to signings and come sign Gravedigger autographs. I mean, and now it's just kind of like it's all been thrown away. And that's why I was talking yesterday about telling these guys, I mean, don't just chase money, man. A lot of guys right now, unfortunately, chase money, but there's more to life to that. And if you put yourself in the right position at wherever you're at in the moment, you should have the opportunity to make plenty of it. But I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, I don't know if you kept up with it or you saw, but CJ, my brother, DJ, was DJing all weekend for the football team. They had official visits. And so I was up there Friday, just kind of needed to bring him a cord or something. I hung out up there and I caught up with everybody, man. I mean, I talked to Kalen DeBoer for probably, man, me and him and Courtney Morgan chopped it up for probably like 20 minutes, but talked to various other coaches and people I know up there, but just kind of, hearing about just kind of like, how different things really are and learning so much, man, it really was eye-opening, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like one of the things I didn't realize until recently was that this new revenue sharing that's coming up. I was just assuming that the NCAA was I for some reason I thought like between the conference and the NCAA, that $20.5 million was coming from some type of TV deal / revenue from an external source. I don't know. What I failed to realize is that allegedly that $20.5 million is coming from each school's athletic department budget, which I don't know how that's going to work out, because I looked this up yesterday as well, and I learned that even though we had like $240 million in revenue, we technically broke even. And why is that? Well, football and maybe men's basketball were probably the only sports that brought in revenue, positive revenue. The rest were all in the negative. So what's happening? We're paying for all that. That being said, I didn't realize this, but that could really cause issues. And that's why people are taking this stuff so serious about budgets and all things like that. My question to you is, I mean, do you think, number one, did you know that was the case? And two, how do you think all these schools are going to find a way to do that if they can? Because I'll be honest with you, to me, I feel like that could cause some issues, because not all schools are going to have $20 million or be able to carve out $20 million in their budget without cutting out potential other sports or things like that. How do you see that playing out? Did we lose him, Jaisha?
I thought he was still there. Hang on, I'll check and see if he's still here.
No worries. I'll read some of these comments while we wait. He might have lost signal or something, but Carson says, I think running away from adversity is the biggest problem. I think adversity gets a bad rep. It's not just turmoil, injuries, and politics. Development and growing through it, obstacles, is adversity too. And now guys can run from it so easily. Yeah, it's definitely a combination of that, and also which a lot of it, you do see that guys they're at a school for 1 year. They're like, oh, I should be playing. I want to do this. And then the other piece to it is, unfortunately, you got schools literally writing checks, man, that you can't even be mad at these players. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys like understood like the gaps between like, hey, a guy could come to said school, which is a good school, but obviously they got a lot of good players, so their price isn't going to be as high. And then you got another school, it's also a good school, but they're offering 5-6 times more. I mean, it's almost like it's hard to fault these guys. But I do agree that, unfortunately, this system doesn't really help guys learn how to battle through stuff and really overcome things. And we're seeing that guys just keep jumping ship. But they're going to learn in life, it doesn't really work like that. unfortunately, that's not how life works. All right, I think we got my dad back. Basically, I was asking you about the whole revenue thing, and I was wondering if you felt that this model will even be sustainable. Because if a school like the University of Alabama on paper broke even, right, and now they're having to find ways to come up with $20 million that they can allot towards the revenue sharing with the athletes. Imagine some of these other schools that don't have the brand like Alabama, that don't have the resources. Do you think this revenue sharing is the answer that will really help if schools can't even come up with that? What do you think about that? I thought we had him back, Jaisha. Maybe not.
Maybe
Yeah,
he
you
has
got me
a
back.
bad
Got me
signal.
back.
Oh,
'Cause
there
I
he is.
put him
Can you
on
hear me?
hold and he answered.
No,
But
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I don't know. Maybe his
The
signal
thing
is
was on.
bad.
Okay,
The
yeah,
thing was
I
on
hear him
mute.
now. Oh, he was on mute. Okay, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries, no
Yeah.
worries. Did you?
When you was talking, I muted so you won't hear no noises, and then I
No, you're
forgot I had
good.
it on mute. That's
No, you're good. Did you
old
Did
age.
you hear what I said? No, you're good.
Yeah. But what I was saying is, I'm like you. I don't understand everything about the revenue sharing, and I know that has to go to all of the athletic teams, and we know that football is going to get the majority of that money. But how's that going to be sustainable? I don't know. But I do think a lot of it is still coming through Booster Club and things like that. So somehow the Gamecock Club here is heavily involved in raising that money for the athletes, right? As you know, a lot of my great friends are big time boosters, and they're asked to give more and or diversify their portfolio when it comes to giving, so that so much money goes into that fund and different things like that. It's just really a headache, and I can tell you a lot of the boosters are so frustrated on this whole deal. Like they're giving money, then they have to give more money. Like why is the school giving more money? They're getting all this television revenue, and still the booths have been asked to support, NIL and that type of thing. So I don't know what the sustainability is, Christian, for something like that. I don't think I like it. I just wish it would just somehow be modified to the point and do what it's supposed to do, right? Give guys an opportunity to go out and take advantage of their name, image, and their likeness, make money based on their success on the field, and then have a line of what every player gets. They get the same money from the university, whether it's $50,000 a year, 75, whatever it is. They get that money, and then they have the ability to go out and make money based on their name, image, and likeness, and stop having this pay for play type of deal, or it's just become the NFL based on what it looks like they're kind of are right now. I mean, because transfer portal is just free agency. That's all it is. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot of different variables in this stuff, but I don't know enough about it. I haven't sat down and talked to somebody how it works. I mean, like I had Lenoris at my golf tournament, right? And Lenoris is one of the top earning athletes in the country as it pertains to NIL. So I had to figure out how to go about having him be a part of my golf event. Like, well, if he comes out there and play and signs autographs, take pictures, this type of thing. Some of them have what 501c3 set up, so it can go through there, right? So it don't become like a 1099 type of deal. It could be like they have a charity and you can give to that 501c3 type of deal. There's so many different variables in how this stuff works. And as I was talking with his agent, that it could become a headache and trying to figure this stuff out. So I don't know.
Well, check this. I just found this, and we'll dive more into this tomorrow, but I'll go ahead and preview it. So I'll throw this on the screen. I found this online. So it's actually breaking down an example of how this could look. And this is actually a really good breakdown. Again, the biggest thing is these schools are going to have to carve out $20.5 million of their budget to be able to do this if they elect to or they opt to do it, which I'd imagine they would, to remain competitive. But this website is nil.ncaa. I don't. As part of the House versus NCAA proposed settlement, schools will be allowed to share athletic department revenues with their varsity athletes beginning in 2025. While not finalized under the proposed revenue sharing model, NCAA schools will be allowed to directly make payments to their athletes up to a tentative annual revenue sharing cap of $20.5 million per school. The cap is estimated to grow to around $30 million per year over the next 10 years. So they compiled data from the most recently available NCAA membership reporting of 20 power conference schools and arrived at the following estimated revenue sharing allocations per team for the upcoming season. So get this. Football, they estimate, would receive about $15.3 million of that $20.5 million, with the average roster size of 105. That would average $146,000 per student athlete, and that would take up about 75% of that. Basketball, $3.2 million, average roster size 15, average payout being $218,000. They've got hockey on here. Obviously, we don't have a hockey team, but that was number 3 with $500,000. So you guys can see football taking up about 75% of that, $15 million. Basketball, 16% at about $3 million. The rest, I would say for us, maybe baseball being that third with maybe $550,000 going there instead of hockey. I would replace that one. And you're looking at about, well, unfortunately, since there's more players, it probably would only be like, 16 grand per person, something like that. Quite the difference there. So we'll dive more into that.
Wait a minute, you said basketball is going to get 200 more than football?
So you got to think football. You have a roster size much bigger. So football, you got 105 guys because they would be getting rid of walk-ons. So all 105 of those guys would be on scholarship, I'd imagine. And yes, if they're allocating $15 million out of that $20 million to those 105 guys, it would average about $146,000 per player.
So you telling me I can't get a scholarship, and we know how this works, which I'm sure coaches will be like cutting players now because
absolutely,
they're not going to pay them to $140,000 to be a practice squad player.
Well, no, so that's why they'd be getting rid of walk-ons. So like walk-ons aren't really going to be a thing anymore. But to me, what's crazy, and this is just
there'll still be players.
No, but you got to remember this. So we'll remember this too, though. This says average per athlete. The school's not going to say everybody gets that, right? So what I would imagine would be your quarterback might get maybe $1 million of that. Star receiver like a Ryan Williams might be kind of close to that, and it would end up probably it would not be. I think it's just saying average per athlete. I think it would be very similar to what we see right now with the collectives, where yes, each guy technically is given around $25,000 on average for a big university, right? Just everybody on the team via the collective for being on the team, the name, image, and likeness. However, you do have big earners. I think it also ends up being like that. I think it's just showing the average. So yeah, I don't think you'd have guys that were. I get what you're saying. A dude that's literally not contributing anything. Why is he making $146,000? I agree 100%. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. So I mean, so if that's the case, so how do they determine? Like it's almost like a high school player going to have to go in and negotiate. So
yeah, no, that's what they're. I mean,
5-star, he's gonna get X, or if it's a 4-star, he gets this, or how do they decide who gets what? Now, so there have to be some type of negotiations there because, again, if you don't give a player, Ryan Williams, just throw it out there. Say Alabama's only gonna give him $400,000. Well, if school X over here, so I'm gonna give you 1.5 of that money allocated to you.
Well, that's pretty much what they're. So what it sounds like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing with the collective stuff right now, right? That's literally how they're doing it. I'll be honest. I thought this graph was going to give me way more answers, but it actually has led me to more questions. I will say, Jaisha, since we almost skipped, actually we did kind of skip another break. I'm so sorry. I'm probably got you all over the place. We might need to just probably get out at what time? Yeah, we could break in 1 minute and come back short. So we got about a minute left because we're going to take a quick break before we wrap things up. Sorry, I know it seems like you just got on here. Call back tomorrow so we can really dive into this stuff because I wanted to get your thoughts too. I didn't have time to ask you, but call in tomorrow because I know you've been very outspoken on Alabama's defensive line over the last couple of years. Well, we're going to break this down tomorrow. There's been not reports, but I should say Greg McElroy has come out. He dropped a video. We're going to listen to it tomorrow. He feels that Alabama's defense and really their defensive line could be one of the best in the country. I already know you're going to have plenty of thoughts about that. So,
here we go.
But
Here we go already.
That's why you need to call back tomorrow because I really want you to dive into that. And I'll even let you listen to the video beforehand. That way you can get an idea of what he said. But he's very high on this defensive line unit. Matter of fact, PFF is as well. They had Alabama as the number 2 defensive line unit in college football this upcoming season behind Clemson. So let that brew in a little bit, but we got to hit this timeout so we can close things out on time.
What? I mean, how can you make that assessment? Well, they did nothing. Who on that defensive line done anything?
LT Overton, maybe Tim Keenan. Good players. I don't know. Just listen, think about it. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, man. But I appreciate you calling in. Please call in tomorrow so we can discuss it. I want to get your thoughts.
I'll let y'all tomorrow, Lord. That just got my day going. Right.
I figured it would. We'll talk tomorrow. All right, good deal. All right, we got to hit a timeout real quick. That way we can come back and wrap things up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTVC. I knew that I was going to get him. I knew that I was going to get him going. I'm excited for tomorrow. We're definitely going to get his thoughts on that. If you guys are just joining again, we just had my dad on here. We were breaking down a number of things, more so on the state of college football. But PFF came out. They have a graphic I'll share real quick. Alabama's got now you can see it. Number 2 defensive line unit, according to PFF. My dad's obviously outspoken, on his thoughts. And one of those has been, he hadn't been very impressed by the defensive line play over the last couple of years. So I definitely am waiting to get his thoughts on that tomorrow. Let's see what we got in here. Is Alabama going to be added into that budget or is it already included? Really good question. I'm not entirely sure. I want to say the collective will be separate from the revenue sharing, Carson. Is the same Carson and you change your profile picture? Or do we have 2 Carsons? I imagine you just change your profile picture. Not that it matters. I was just curious. They should have a 401k match like most companies do. The schools pay a portion and it's matched by boosters. Oh, nice. Good deal, man. Looks good. Looks nice and professional. I agree. NFL has it. Matter of fact, NFL has one of the best ones you can get, man. 2 for 1. So literally every dollar you put in, they put 2. And I agree 100. I mean, I don't know if you were listening last week, Carson, but if you guys have listened to the show, you guys know, I'm a big financial guy, all about saving, investing, doing the right things, financially to set yourself up. That would be amazing. The problem is, Carson, with them already trying to carve out this $20 million, I can already see them saying like they don't really have the means to really do that. Now, they should what they could do is come up with an option and say, hey, we're giving you the option to take a portion of what you make, what we're paying you, which is same in the NFL, right? And I don't know. I guess that wouldn't be them matching it, though. Them matching it would add money. I'm sure they could come up with something like that, like help guys say, hey, if you are interested in setting up a retirement type plan like that, whether it's a 401, an IRA, whatever, help them do that with the money that they're making. That way, where it automatically does that, not saying like, oh, we'll just teach you how. No, because young guys aren't going to be so disciplined with that. In terms of that being the floor, no, actually, I don't think that's the floor. Initially, I was thinking that was like the average what people would get, but then I thought about it, and that I don't think schools would do that because they would be out leveraged when another school does what my dad was saying. We're saying, all right, we'll give you $1 million of our budget, So then, yeah, it's just that would be the average. So some guys might be making 300, 400, whatever. Some schools do like tiers, stuff like that, like tier 1, tier 2. Yeah, I mean, Keelan Keeley comes along, he would be big addition to that unit. All right, we're only going to have like 2 minutes. Try to squeeze Digger on here if we can. Let's see if he's still on there. He might not be on there anymore. Yeah, he's going to rip the D-line tomorrow. Just you already know, Mike. And we're back right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's art sport expert. Shout out to the Pastor Pan who joined us. Had a nice conversation there about college football, some of this new revenue sharing stuff coming up. But tomorrow, he's going to be back on, and we're going to talk about this defensive line unit that has been ranked as number 2 going into this upcoming season. No, he's going to be outspoken on that. All right. Could we see if Digger's still on there, Jaisha? I don't know if he still is, but if he is, maybe we can get him on for a minute or two. Digger, you still with us?
Hey.
There he is. Digger, we got about a minute and a half, maybe. I'm sorry it's late. My dad was on for a while, but I wanted to give you a second to hop on here.
I don't blame him. Clemson, are you what? Clemson ran for 475 yards against them in the playoff games. Come on.
Wait, y'all ran for how many? Wait, hold on. How many yards?
It was 470, I think.
No way.
One was an 80-yarder. Go look at it. We ran all over Clemson.
Dang.
They couldn't stop the running game. So I'm just telling you.
I did not know that. Listen, they do have some. They've got some players.
I'm telling you, it's 4-something, and I'm telling you what? No way. And I don't blame him saying that about Alabama either. You got to show me first. Vanderbilt runs 400 on you. Come on.
Okay, all right. So not quite 400, Digger. You guys ran for 292, but I'll be honest with you. I don't care. That's still damn near 300 yards on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm
but
you're
292. But you were right. The total yards of 494. So that I get what you're saying. Yeah. Damn.
Real quick, the reason why I was calling is $2.8 billion in that settlement for the players or the athletes in the past 10 years. That's a problem. That's a problem.
It's not enough, right?
Well, I mean, come on. It's going to be like $65 million for Texas because we had all these athletes on there, especially with the swimming team. So
Digger,
that is going to be a problem.
What about me and my teammates that played in 4 straight national championship games? Come on, man.
Oh, buddy, I don't want to hear it.
What?
You got cars. You got McDonald's bags.
What? Wait, no, I did not. Don't do that. Don't spread that on here. No, I did not. No bags. McDonald's.
And I get it. Look, I get it. But the problem is, come on, it was 10 years ago. Why are we saying 10? I get 5 years, but 10 years ago?
Yeah, we missed out. We missed out, man. We should have been getting paid. Yeah.
Please.
I feel bad for the guys past then. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, look, I want you to watch this game tonight between Texas and Texas Tech. Here you got a pitcher that's going to get paid $1 million a year. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, it's already paid dividends for Texas Tech. They've already got like $6 million in media time. Okay? So it works. If you pay your players, it does work. You just have to justify the expense to see if you're willing to pay that much. Okay?
Wait, you're talking about baseball or softball?
Softball.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're talking about the young lady that they man, she's a beast, man.
Yeah, I'm absolutely nervous because, listen, Christian, we've been trying to get a softball championship for decades. Mm-hmm. And we've had our shot. And now we got another shot at it, but we're going up against the world's best pitcher. This girl is ridiculous.
I'm going to tune into that.
She's getting paid $1 million a year for it, and she's worth every single penny.
Dang.
So,
well, good luck to you guys. I mean, obviously, I think she's awesome. I watched her when she was at Stanford. Is that where she came from?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember her as a freshman. She was a dog, man. Dang. Well, good luck tonight, man.
Yeah. I appreciate it. And look, one more thing. So I'm just saying, because of Brian running his mouth about NIL, that Texas has a bunch of fake NILs. Yeah, really. Is Uber a fake NIL? Red Bull is a fake NIL? You don't know what he's talking about. He's upset because y'all not in the money game. So haven't figured this thing out for your players. Come
Oh,
on,
man.
pay your players and get some corporate sponsorship for your players. What's wrong with that? That's NIL.
We're working on it. Don't worry, man. I'm gonna be up there helping them out. We'll get it figured out. Digger, we appreciate you, man.
Later.
Take care. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got to make room for Wyatt and T-Town Sports Daily coming up next. This has been the Miller's Edge presented by the Good Feet Store, America's Art Sport Experts. See you guys tomorrow.